Hello viewers, I'm delighted to welcome you to yet another wonderful edition of Crossfire, reaching you from the Advent Cable Network Nigeria Television, ACNNTV. I am Olusegun Emmanuel Akinola. Remember, Crossfire is a program that treats controversial topics on diverse issues surrounding the family, the church, and society. It's more like a friendly match where we just warm up by raising issues. The ball is eventually left in your courts to decide. You know, with the current level of insecurity in our country, Nigeria, parents are becoming, divided on what kind of schools to send their wards. Boarding schools or day schools. Boarding schools used to be quite popular back in the 60s to the 80s. However, with the poor quality of some boarding school facilities, and of course, with a state of insecurity, parents tend to prefer that their children stay safe at home in order for them to watch them and to guide them daily. So, which is preferable, boarding schools or day schools? To discuss this very interesting topic, we have with us today two seasoned teachers, Ms. Priska Ado, a French teacher at the Anglican Girls Grammar School, Abuja, who will be speaking for boarding schools, while Mr. Silas Udenze, a school administrator at Stella Maris Schools, will be speaking for day schools. We thank you very much for being a part of our program today. You're
Thank
both welcome.
you for having us.
Thank you for having us, sir.
Yes, let's get right into it. Well, like they say, ladies first.
Okay.
So maybe we should start with you, talking about boarding schools. What edge do you think boarding schools have, against their counterparts, day schools?
Well, boarding schools have a lot of advantages.
Okay.
But I will limit it to just 4 points. Okay. The foremost reason that makes boarding school a better option to day school is the fact that the former naturally inculcates a sense of punctuality and discipline in its students.
Okay.
Now, in a boarding school, students are meant to follow and maintain a schedule. There are rules in the hostel, in the schools, for these students to follow, and they ought to follow it diligently.
Of course.
And there are teachers there to make sure they do so. Now, all these come together to groom them into more responsible and dependable individuals in future.
Okay.
Secondly, students in boarding schools learn to be self-reliant and independent at a very, very tender age.
Okay.
Because they find themselves there, say at the age of 9, 10, they're already in the boarding school. There they learn to take care of themselves.
Yes.
They have to follow the activities that have been mapped out per time for things they ought to do. So this helps them mature quickly and they get to be self-reliant and independent.
Okay.
But you can't say so for day schools who have a rather sheltered upbringing. Furthermore, yes. Furthermore, boarding schools make sure they keep their students focused on their responsibilities as learners. You know, with what is happening now, a lot of students don't know that it's their responsibility to learn. They feel it's something daddy and mommy should do for them or their teacher should do for them. But boarding schools make it clear. Let them know this is your responsibility. As students remain focused on their academics and personal development. And in boarding schools, it is the boarding school makes it sure that these children have every form of distractions eliminated.
Okay.
Finally, boarding schools, the encouragement to participate in extracurricular activities and sports is noticeably higher in boarding schools.
Definitely.
Why is this so? This is because students, there's a camaraderie between these boarding students. It helps them form friendships that in turn helps the students know that they should stand for each other. They should encourage each other when necessary. You see, this form of relationship helps the students to build crucial life skills like team spirit, collaboration, communication, and so on. Thank
wonderful,
you.
Wonderful. Mr. Silas,
well,
what do you have to say about that?
Well, she has given her point, but I strongly disagree with those points.
Okay.
Because having worked in a school establishment, both boarding and day school for more than 7 years. I've got to mingle with the students and their teachers. Now, the 2 points she gave, I'll classify them into regimented life. Now, boarding schools are so regimented that a child knows that at 8 o'clock he or she is supposed to wake up. At 7, supposed to do certain things. But the truth remains that we should not forget that education is a two-way thing. Totally, it is not the responsibility of the child to learn. We have a situation where a child, you think your child is ripe enough to go to boarding school at 9. Come on. Don't you think that that child, to some extent, will be emotionally depressed? Let's paint a scenario where a child is 8, and you say, okay, you've passed your entrance examination, you're going to school A, and you drove your child to school, you hug the child, this is your teacher, this is your this thing, and you say, take care of him, and you drove up. For the next 2 months or 3 months, you may not see your child. Now, people have come to realize that there is a lot of depression and emotional effect that go through. There's this scholar, Joy Shivering. She wrote a book. The title of the book is what? The Syndrome of Boarding School.
Interesting.
The Syndrome of Boarding School. She strongly believes, and I too believe, that a child should not be let go. Let go in the sense that don't think the responsibility for a child to learn is solely that of the teacher. No, the parent have a role to play. And also I want to state that if you think boarding school is good because the child has to learn, do we know the academic pressure of boarding school?
Yeah, that's true.
Academic pressure of boarding school, all through. And when she said that a child in the boarding school, there's more room for extracurricular activity. I've been part of the day and boarding school. The truth remains that I've taken more students from the day school to extracurricular activities. I visited the Chinese center where people from the day school go to learn different life skills. So, but you know, in terms of the boarding school, there are limitations. The school probably can only take the child to learn those life skills. But when you come to the school can take the child, the parent can also monitor the child.
Okay, so that's a bonus there.
That's a bonus there. So I think overall, day schools, you have so many advantages because the child is not supposed to learn alone. Let's know that. If you have a problem in the society, a broken home, people send their child to boarding school because of broken home. You have a child that is so hypertensive, they don't try to concentrate at once. You think it's the miracle of the boarding house to shape them. It is your duty as a parent to know that this my child is so hypertensive. It is your duty to say, okay, let's mold you, come back home, let's see what happens. But if you send them to the day school, to the boarding school rather, you won't have that chance.
But a child who is staying at home, don't you think there will be too many distractions for such a child like that? Even though you say it's an added bonus. But this is a child who does play around.
Now, when you say distractions, where do they come from? You are a parent.
Yes.
Even the Bible says, well, train up a child the way he should go. And when he's grown, he will not depart from it. The problem is, it is still the responsibility of the parent. What distraction? If it is the television, passcode certain channels.
Oh, they are cartoon.
Passcode it. You understand? I don't know if you understand.
Yes.
So it is your responsibility. What distraction?
Okay, I'm sure my sister also
I have a lot to say. You see, you said students in boarding school live a regimented life.
Yeah,
you know, that regimented life gives room for discipline.
Okay.
We need to be disciplined, and that's where they learn it in boarding schools. Now, you're telling me parents would look after their children. How many parents are available to look at their children? How many parents are there to look at what the children bring from home? As little as nursery schools, some parents are not available. They employ lesson teachers. These lesson teachers, what do? They practically do the assignments brought from school for the children. Some children never see their parents. in a day. Perhaps it's during the weekend they stay because
Yeah.
by the time they are awake, parents are gone.
True.
When they've slept, that's when parents come back.
Okay.
So how will that parental
You just asked me a
guidance
question.
be there?
How?
Wow.
The problem is, we're in this world chasing what? Money.
Money.
But prevention was chasing shadows. That's the truth.
Yeah.
Now, I work in a day school presently.
Yes.
I have a situation where school will close by 3. And we have extra class from 3 to 4.
Okay.
Just to keep the pupil so that the parent will close from work and come and pick them.
up. Okay.
Now, even by 5,
Yes.
the parent will still not come.
Okay.
School have gone ahead to put certain penalties,
Okay.
financial. If you did not come
At
by
certain time.
3
Okay.
or by 4 to pick your child, you're going to pay certain amounts.
Okay.
Now, who are they trying to discipline? Is it the child or the parent? The parent, you have a responsibility. It still boils down to that. You have a responsibility.
Okay.
Let's not hide from that. You have a responsibility.
Now, there was another point he made about that issue of depression. You're sending a child, 8 years old, 9 years, 10 years old. If you
I'm
send
sure
a child,
she have seen them cry.
I mean, when you're letting them
That's
go.
it. That's the thing. Because when you leave home, most of these children have never left their parents.
Yeah.
Even we've had situations where parents even come to cry. But
With the
because we
children
are
too.
set on teaching these children to be disciplined,
Discipline, yes.
we don't let them see their parents.
Are
And
you-
after a little while, they see their mates.
Are
They
you
just-
saying the
Blaming.
child won't be disciplined at home?
Yes. They might not really have that
Be as
opportunity.
disciplined, maybe.
Yes,
as being
because
in boarding school.
you know, okay, tell me. Children that have their parents, sometimes you see a mother saying, I've warned you, do this. She's screaming at the child, and the child is not concerned because she knows that's all mommy will do.
Oh, Abi.
But when you're
But
in
then-
school and they tell you to do something, you know that you are going to pay if you, the penalty you have to pay for not doing
Excuse
some
me.
certain
Yes.
things.
I've got to see a parent where the parent tries to make the child do things. The child refuses. Because the child came back from a boarding school.
Okay.
And-
the reverse now.
And the parent has to call the housemaster. What do you people do that makes him do this? When the man comes, the child does it. You've transferred your responsibility
to someone else.
to someone else. You understand? I don't know if you understand. He said, what magic do you perform? Now, the parent is not there to learn the magic.
Okay.
You understand? You ask how many parents have time. My dear, we've got to create time.
Definitely.
We've got to create time.
Okay.
We've got to,
Okay.
you see a job of 200k or 300, and they'll say you work from home, you close by 5, you do this, fine, it is good, and you can send your child to boarding school.
Boarding school.
But you're losing that touch.
Okay.
You're losing that touch.
Now, I still wonder how the parents who have, both parents, both father and mother, you know, if they don't, I mean, you already talked about those ones who even come late to pick up their children. How much value do you think the parents actually add to their education? They are so busy, they are so stressed out at work, stressed out in traffic, you know, the burdens of taking care of the children. It's just easier for them to just, you know, send them to boarding school. Being at home, do you think that actually adds value to the child's education if a parent doesn't really have the time?
Well, just like she stated, there are ways to augment that.
Okay.
She talked about extra lesson, which is being conducted at home.
Okay. Okay.
Now, it still boils down to monitoring. Now, if the teacher comes to teach the child,
Yes.
I believe also the parent has to know how the child progresses.
Progresses. Okay.
I don't know if you understand me.
Yes,
The
yes.
parent has to know how the child progresses. But in the case of the boarding house, you understand? In most cases, I know of 2 boys back then, about 5 to 6 years ago. Their parent is based in the United States.
Okay. Wow.
He comes for open day once in a year.
Wow.
And before he goes around talking to the subject teachers and class teacher, form teachers, a lot will be making notes.
Wow. That's good.
So, no matter which way, parents have a responsibility.
They still have that.
We have that responsibility.
Okay, so I'm sure my sister might want to add to that now.
Well,
this issue of parents creating time, you know, adding value to their children and all that. If they're in the boarding school, the child will miss the parents. They won't have that. Don't you think they will miss out that added value that parents will have given?
of course, you can't undermine the fact that children, they are missing their parents or their families. Children certainly miss their parents.
Okay.
But there's a saying that goes, absence makes the heart go fonder. So during the periods which these boarding students are in school, they learn values, and these values help them appreciate their families more.
Okay.
Now, a child is not in school, is not at home. What scenario can I paint now? Okay, let's say these teenagers from 14, 15, 16. At that stage, we've noticed that mothers and daughters clash because, I'm in a girls' school, they clash. The girl is trying to let the mother know, I know what I'm doing, I am trustworthy. The mother is still saying, this small girl, what does she know, this and this? And there's that clash. But when they come to school, I talk to a lot of them. They'll say, my mom, I've not seen somebody like her. She can, if you do one thing, she'll remember the sins you committed years back, and she will recount them again. And I told them, mine, I don't think your mother was like mine, but she just wants what's best for you.
That's true.
So when they get to see that, they're not the only ones suffering this, they see their mates too that go through it, and their teachers also telling them she's gone through it. And I tell them, when I say, now, my mother's my best friend. I say she's like a friend to me, unlike that time. So when they get back, they try to understand, and the relationship is much more better.
So at least it saves them all that stress, and they are able to see their colleagues and other people going through the same thing. So it's a bit easier.
It's not peculiar to them. It's common.
Exactly. Well, thank you very much for the points so far. Dear viewers, please stay tuned as we go on a short break.
Children, hello. It is a new dawn for children on the network as ACNNTV rolls out this new and exciting children's program called Children's World. This program is aimed at bringing the word of God to children in their own world, showcasing their talents as well as to acquaint them with the ways of life and the rich cultures of our people. All these are treasures you would love to be part of. We also have the Outlook Center, which promises to feature exciting activities for children and by children. Parents are not left out of this.
You are a perfect creature. The way you are perfect.
I'm so excited to roll out all these activities for your viewing pleasure. So, come along with me to Children's World.
Welcome back, viewers. Thank you for staying tuned. This has been Crossfire, and we've been talking and discussing on boarding school versus day school, which is preferable for our children. And we have guests who have been discussing with us so far. Mr. Silas Udenze, who has been supporting day school, while Ms. Priska Ado has been talking about boarding schools. Let me come back to you, Ms. Priska. When we started, we talked about the discipline that a boarding school instills, sense of responsibility, a child becomes independent. Do you think that this kind of training, this kind of discipline, affects the child and prepares the child for life ahead, maybe university, college, and the rest of that? Yes.
It does. Okay. I don't think it does.
Okay.
I went to a boarding school myself.
Okay. I went to a day school.
You went to a day school.
I went to a boarding school myself, and I thank God I went to a boarding school.
Okay.
You see, boarding students, over the period of time when they are boarders, learn to gain expertise in time management, management of their skills, their resources, and money.
Okay.
When we talk about time management, I value time so much, I don't go late for anything. I learned that from boarding school.
Okay.
Resources, money. When I was in boarding school, my parents will always give me the stipulated amount for pocket money. They'll give it to my guardian. And my guardian was someone that had principles that you collect money twice a week, choose the day. I chose Wednesdays and Fridays. So at a very young age, I learned to place my needs according in a certain order of priority. So whatever I will need from Friday to the next Wednesday, I will have to make the list out and ask for that amount. Now, it has helped me. When I got into the university, that discipline helped me in the sense that when they gave me money, I had the money in my hands. I could do whatever I wanted to do. I could buy whatever I wanted to buy, but I had to place my needs in order of priority. Okay, I need this to and everything. So it does help them. And because of this independence they've gained and discipline, they transfer to the university and also take it all through life. But these students might never have had the opportunity to manage their resources. You know, it's a different thing to say, take this, buy snacks on your way home, buy food, than saying, take this, then you decide how to take care of yourself with that little amount. So some of them, that is the first time they're actually having the privilege of handling money. And you give somebody 20 or 50,000, you'll be like,
wow, that's a big one.
let me just spend, and they will now learn that the hard way.
He's itching to speak.
Well, well, coincidentally, you invited the right people for this talk. She went to a boarding school. I went to a day school. Well, you tried to say that boarding students are more frugal, well-disciplined. Well, me, I'm very disciplined, and I went to a day school. Now, let me give you a good scenario. While I was in primary 6, I do a lot of saving. A lot of savings. Some of my textbooks, I bought them myself. Some of my shoes, I bought them myself. Because my dad worked in Kaduna then. When he's going back, he gives my mom money for school fees. He gives me money to keep. To keep secretly. He tells me if I need extra money, I should use from them. And to be honest, whatever he comes back after a month, he comes to see us after a month in Abuja, I don't spend all the money he gives me. I'm still leaning on that parental touch. The truth is that you say your guardian, I say my parents. We're like trying to strike a balance here. Let me just sit on the fence for now, but I'm disagreeing with you, We're trying to strike a balance here that both parents and guidance in boarding school can do that. But what I want to establish is that sometimes parents that send their words to boarding school don't actually send their word to school. Sometimes they identify certain shortcomings, certain shortcomings that they feel is overwhelming for them, and send their child to care home. To care home, to allow the next person to manage,
the guardian and the teachers,
to manage it. So invariably, sometimes a parent thinks I'm sending my child to boarding school, but when you analyze it critically, in-depthly, it is a care home. You want somebody to care for this child that I cannot care for. I don't know if you understand me. That is my take. Because I believe if my dad and my mom can do this to a large extent, when I got to the university, I was able to socialize very well. Because while in day school, the socialization is very, very free. Though I love the regimented life of boarding house sometimes because the time factor is good. But when it comes to social interaction, to a large extent, wait now, you may disagree, but when it comes to social interaction to a large extent, I believe that day students, they get to explore both school and society at the same time.
Very quickly, maybe you want to say something there.
The way you make boarding school sound, it's as if it's a prison. You say school after 3 months. They go home after 3 months.
After 3 months?
Not after 3 months.
4 quarters in a year.
No. Let's say in between those 3 months, they go on midterm break.
A few days.
So in fact, they can interact. In fact,
few days.
In boarding schools, you meet the whole world is in a boarding school. People from different walks of life, as in different cultures, and this thing, you meet
You can't
them.
find them in the day school.
How many times do you have the opportunity to talk about what's your village like? When you go from one class to another, after that, you go home at the end of the day.
Okay.
Are you saying it?
Do you know that as day students, when you go home more often every day
Yes,
you are
of
home.
course, of course.
You get more to interact with your parents and learn some of these things. Very well.
That's if the
But she's-
parents are there.
They are there.
If the parents are
If they are
around.
there,
If the parents are there.
of course, if they are there. But I'm still pressing that it is still the responsibility of the parents.
Parents.
Go to the body house. I can beat my chest, go to the body house and ask, even as a student, sometime, what village are you from?
It might not know.
He might not know.
They know.
Yeah.
He might not know.
Most know.
Okay.
He might not know.
Okay.
The,
Yes, yes.
the student might not know. Because the fact remains that, for example, if your parents, they are keen in making sure that you know your roots. For example, I know when my mom go for village meetings, she
Okay.
takes me to the village meetings.
They have this
All those interactions. We go for end of the year party. Where how many boarding students have that privilege?
No, it's
that
not
kind
just
of-
peculiar to boarding school. It's just a parent thing. Some parents don't want to
Don't
associate with their roots.
Village people.
So there's nothing
If you don't
can
want to associate
do to. It's not only boarding school
with
students
your
that.
roots. How does a student in boarding school, you finish the whole SS3, you understand?
Nothing at all.
Fine, they will be teaching civic education, social study, but they will not bring it down to your village.
Yes. Okay.
I'm an advocate of that. Even in my home today, my son, if you tell him Bia,
You understand?
as small as he is, Bia, he will turn and come. I say my son will learn my language at home. When he goes to school, he should learn English.
But you know that in boarding schools, I told you they take part in extracurricular activities, and these extracurricular activities make room for cultural day. There's not how you can
Once
go through.
in a
It's not once
The
in a
second
term.
term.
Then you get to know your village.
Second
Because
term.
sometimes we talk about the food. You're doing presentations on the food you eat,
Yes.
on what you people wear, what makes you different from other people. So you definitely have to
but-
get to. Yes. Yes.
But at home you get to see it more often. Your mother will tie gele, ties the gele far away, but go
When
to
they
you
come
see
back for
it.
holidays, they see it too.
How often? How
Okay.
often?
As often as possible.
Let me digress a little bit. You know, well, you've both experienced boarding school, day schools. In the day school system, are the tuition fees, you know, a bit more, or the boarding school? I don't know which
Well-
one has more, which one has less.
Well, overall,
Yes.
boarding schools are more expensive.
Okay.
Overall,
Do you agree with that?
overall.
They should be
Maybe
more
they
expensive
should be-
because they take care of the
They
children
take
for a
care
period
the
of
children
time.
24/7.
Yeah,
Yes,
because you're paying for your child to go to the daycare.
daycare.
And they are doing a good job.
Okay.
They are
Now-
doing a
Now-
good job. They are doing a good job.
If overall, boarding houses are more expensive.
Yes.
Now, we know about the economic situation of the country now.
Yes.
You understand? Well, by virtue of that, most parents these days prefer day school.
Okay.
Economically,
Yeah,
they prefer
yeah.
day school. But I also want to state that, taking into cognizance the kind of school, the kind of schools, you can
Yes.
still find day schools that are more expensive than boarding schools.
Thank you very much.
I know about it, and I want us to agree
Yes.
so that the fire will not burn each of us.
No,
The
it's
truth remains
true.
that, going by the nature of the school, you can still find certain
Yeah.
day schools that
Day
are
schools.
expensive.
Why would that now be more expensive again?
Now, let me give
What
you
are
an
they
example.
providing?
Yeah, let me give you some example. You go to certain day schools, because in a fast-paced society, some parents don't even have the time to cook.
Okay.
Yes, your child is supposed to take breakfast before they come to school. But certain
don't.
day schools will provide that
Okay.
option
Okay.
for them.
Yes.
You understand? And also, some day schools, in as much as the boarding houses is very regimented,
Yes.
some day schools try to train a child, not in the boarding format,
Okay.
because the children still go back
Yes,
home.
to go back home.
You understand?
Yes.
But they still have all these all-encompassing things that you may find
Yeah, body-
even in the boarding house,
Okay.
in the day school.
Okay.
So while the socialization goes on there, when you still go back home, it is still there. So by virtue of this, you can find some day schools
Okay.
that are equally expensive, even in Abuja.
There are also care homes too.
It's not care home per se because they go back home.
They are care homes.
They go back
For the
home.
period, forget it going back home. It's just a place to sleep.
If you go,
What difference does it make?
if you go to school by 7 and come back by 2, what does that change?
Of course.
But when you go to school January, you come back by March.
You've lost out so many
see, that parent I told you about that lives in the US, he comes back only once in a year. And the children sometimes goes to stay in somebody's house.
Place. Okay. Now, with boarding school facilities, yes, there are some, they provide everything that the children need and all of that. When it comes to this issue of insecurity, which seems to be growing in our country now, imagine if you're a parent here in Abuja, you're sending your child to a boarding school somewhere in Kaduna or some other place. How would you advise a parent in that kind of situation? Shouldn't they just change to a day school, or what is the level of security consciousness that boarding schools have?
Insecurity in Nigeria is not peculiar to boarding schools alone.
Okay.
Their schools also have their fair share.
Okay.
We've heard of situations where students going to school were abducted. We've heard where drivers kidnap students that were supposed to be taken home or stuff like that.
Wow.
But for boarding schools, the issue of insecurity in Nigeria should not affect the operation of boarding schools in the country.
Okay.
You see, where we have a concrete security program in place, boarding schools can operate, because I even feel boarding schools are much more secure. The students are exposed to less forms of danger. Okay. Sometimes some students get involved in accidents on their way to or back from school. But boarding school students are not exposed to such. They do everything they need to do for the term within that secured, enclosed space. Okay. And at the end, they get to go back home. In boarding schools, you can hardly have issues of people picking up words that are not theirs. Yes, okay. Are you getting it? Because you have to go through a process to get a student. Okay. Now, I will end by saying, of what use is it for a watchman to watch over a city if God's hands are not there?
Well, if you say, going by the insecurity in the country, yes. Well, I would not agree with you that the boarding house is more secured. Okay. That's just the truth. Because the boarding house, just like we've established, even if you don't agree, it's just an enclosure that you keep your child. But going by the nature of the day school, I believe in the day school, when you take your child to school on a daily basis, your eyes is always on your child. Okay. Always on your child. And you have that responsibility of taking and making sure that your child comes back home. Now, let's assume that I am a parent and I send my child to a boarding school. Let's assume in Anambra. Because so many of them, Anambra. And probably my relatives are not resident there. And something happens in Anambra.
Yes. It becomes an issue.
It becomes an issue. It becomes an issue. I remember when the issue, was it lockdown? Yeah, when they said, okay, that day we came to school and immediately they said people should leave school. You understand? At least in my session at the day school, we were able to evacuate everybody that day. Okay. But in boarding houses, some were coming as far as Port Harcourt, Lagos. And the parents were like, what am I supposed to do now? And parents are so, they love their children. Of course. And some of them were like, will my child stay for like 2 days in the boarding house? Hope these teachers are not coming in again. Hope they are quarantined. They are so much concerned about their child. But in the day section, we were able to evacuate everybody, even in our day school here, in area 1 here. Yes. Everybody, immediately they turned back, they went back home. Okay. So, and going to a boarding school, especially when it is father, I don't encourage that. Yes. Even if you want to put your child in a boarding house, put it at a very short proximity.
Will you agree to that one, this proximity issue?
Of course,
I agree to it.
You have short
I agree to
proximity.
it. We have a lot of schools now that it's
Short
not
proximity.
really ideal to start sending a child that far.
Because you don't know what might happen in that distance.
Yes, of course.
You understand? God forbid, you know, this country, we just depend on God. Hopefully everything turns out well. But in fact, some people in this country don't even fly.
It's true.
They don't fly. They would rather go by road.
Yes.
Yeah, because
It's
the
very
checks
risky.
that other country would do on a plane before it takes off may take 2 days. But Nigeria, here, one would drop.
Okay.
That same plane will just rest 30 minutes. We pack people. Woo.
Yeah.
The case of Sosoliso, what happened? And the students.
Okay. Now, with this, now, is it true that a child in a day school might suffer a little inconsistency in learning due to frequent change of school, maybe because of where the parents are located, or they change to another place, someone in a day school will easily be affected. But boarding school, of course, the child is already there. No matter where the parents move, you know, they are okay.
Well, yeah, for me,
Yes.
it wouldn't affect anything.
Okay.
It wouldn't affect anything. Because if you say the parent move,
Yes.
now, does that mean that people from boarding school,
Yes,
their parents
yes.
don't move? There are some proximity you move, that child has to move,
Yes.
even from the boarding house.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's a two-way thing.
Yes.
People that go to day school, or less, people that suffer that more, will be those, the nature of their parents' work.
Yes.
Because there are jobs that you cannot stay in a place for more than 1 year. Yes, 2 years, they'll move you. So you already know. So if you should put your child in a boarding school, for example, we're resident in Abuja now, my child attended a boarding school in Abuja, and they want to move me to Ado-Ekiti or Lagos.
That definitely.
Definitely, even if the child is in the boarding house, for me as a parent, I'll move the child.
Okay.
So
But that does not mean the child can't stay if the child wants to.
if the child wants to, now, you said the child, but for me, I'm saying the parents.
The parents.
Yeah.
You make the decision.
I mean, the parents.
Sometimes the
you said-
children's opinion should count.
Of course, the children's opinion should count. That I agree very much. But sometimes you also know that, check yourself, you make a better choice for your child than what they think they are trying to.
Okay.
To
Most times.
Okay.
Not every time.
Well, our time is already gradually running to an end. Maybe you have a final word for parents, you know, concerning boarding school facilities. How do you want to advise them as a final word?
Well, boarding schools are good.
Okay.
They have their merits and their demerits. But I think their merits supersedes or overrides their demerits. And in a situation where we have parents that are both working class parents, it would be ideal to put your child in a boarding school because you have the watchful eyes of teachers, matrons, and a lot of people looking after these children, guiding them in the right path. Where your eye won't be able to reach a child, these people it's their responsibilities to make sure these children have wholesome learning. So I just feel it's ideal for children to go to boarding schools.
Okay. Mr. Silas, sir, the final word for parents.
My final words will be that I would advise parents to make it a point of duty to be part of their child's life. Sending your child to boarding school, to a large extent, you miss out on their growing up.
Of course.
Sometimes when they come back home, you see them as different persons. So I would wholly advise that. Of course, boarding schools should also thrive because some of the boarding houses, in fact, I'll state that some of their facilities are not up to date. That's the truth. They should improve on their facilities, you understand? Because in most cases, you don't just collect money from parents because you want to keep the child, you understand? But overall, I would advise parents to be part of their child growing up so that the child will be well-rounded in the society. And what else? Day school will give them that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and we sincerely appreciate both of you for the word of advice and counsel and for the points you've raised. Very crucial, very interesting. Thank you very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're sorry that we have to draw the curtain at this juncture. Please do take note that the quality of education is the most important thing we can give our children. We must commend, privately owned schools as they have improved over the years. Some have both boarding and day schools, these facilities running at the same time to accommodate the needs of all children. Yes, of course, there's the growing, increasing fear with the level of insecurity in our land. But where can we say is really safe? Is it at home, in church, in school, in marketplaces? Wherever it is that we are, security measures can be developed even in schools to ensure the safety of all students. Parents can only hope and pray that God watches over their children wherever they are. Sooner or later, they will have to grow up and be independent. So let's give them the best that they deserve, whether it is in a day school or the boarding school. We thank you very much for staying tuned. Till next time, stay safe and stay blessed.